Wow, look, notify me works. Yo, what's up? Apparently, the Freedom Software Foundation has decided to make a phone. Which is interesting. You got me, Carbon? Yeah, I mean, oh, yeah, I just came across it. I'm not entirely sure what the fuck Carbon was. But thanks, Notify Me, for being fucking late and messaging twice. So I just found out about this like a minute ago. But Carbon, I just came across it and I was like, this seems fucking retarded. So like, when will this phone come out? I have no idea. We're gonna find out. We're gonna watch a video and then read this. I personally wouldn't run it. Look, I mean, I love the Free Software Foundation. I think what they do is good in terms of giving people user choice. But the thing is, security, to me, security is the highest. It's cool. I have the Pine phone, but security is one of the most important things to me. I think that it should be there. It should be talked about. It should be part of the discussion. The problem is stuff like this doesn't have a good track record of being like very secure, and still not better. Yeah, it's still not going to be better than Graphene OS. I wouldn't compare them. I think they're the problem is, first off, a misconception is Micro G is de-Googling your phone. Micro G relies on Google still. There's no way to really de-Google a phone besides an actual Linux phone, so it's kind of difficult. People use the word de-Google because they just want to. I mean, you have really shitty projects out there that is trying to make a cash money grab. I would get this as a joke or as maybe like a secondary phone, but I would never. I would never actually get it and run it. I've been using Linux for a long time, and when I even came to the conclusion, I was like, wow, I'm stupid. Linux isn't secure, and that's okay. There's a lot of security flaws with Linux, but I think, again, at the end of the day, people should have user choice. They should be able to make their own decision. It'd be cool if they partner with Graphene. They won't. Graphene has a lot of. First off, to be clear, the Free Software Foundation will not authorize Qubes OS because they have proprietary blobs in Qubes OS, even though they can't remove them for security reasons. Put that into perspective. Because the free software, they go against some very niche free software philosophy. Qubes OS will not be considered, isn't considered free software. They don't recommend it because of that reason, because of their ideology, because they don't want to remove proprietary blobs that would hinder security. That's all it is. That's insane. To me, that's insane. I mean, a couple of months ago when I started streaming, there was, we looked at Parabola. They're even more extreme. They don't have Rust. They don't have Python, I think. Python is not free enough for them. I mean, they're like the extreme version of the Free Software Foundation. It'd be cool, but it would never happen. But
Foundation gave humanity.
I still support the Free Software Foundation because I think that people, again, at the end of the day, should have choice with their software. If they know it's insecure and they know it's not as secure as XYZ or whatever, or if it works, that's fine.
A small glimmer of hope for a better future by announcing one of the most ambitious open source projects of our time, the librephone.
So there was something called Red. By the way, this has already existed. This isn't new. There was something called Replicant. It was a Android fork.
Freedom or Liberty phone. The modern man is a slave to this dark little rectangle. The average person clocks in 6.66 hours of screen time daily, and if you're Gen Z, it goes up to 9 hours. No cap.
I don't want Fireship to hit me with strikes, but there's no one else I could watch.
But those are rookie numbers for South Africans who grind out 9 hours of screen time daily. By watching this video, you're becoming a statistic and quite literally draining your consciousness to Silicon Valley ad companies like Google and Facebook. It's a problem we should have seen coming when Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke tried to warn us with the black cuboid in 1968. But it's too late now. Not only are we all addicted to the monolith, but with digital IDs rolling out around the world against the will of the people, it'll soon be impossible to put food on your family without a 24/7 spyware-loaded smartphone in your pocket. In today's video, we'll look at the world of open source mobile tech and find out if there's any hope for technological freedom in our future. It is October 16th, 2020.
The issue is a lot of these projects, they rely on Google, or they fork it. They fork Android. They fork Android, and because they fork Android, they rely heavily still on getting the security patches and the bulletins from Google. There's a really good chart. If you guys ever want to... What ruins it? I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember what I said. There's actually a website. I can't remember if I can find it. It's a guide on the Android open source projects that all exist, like Lineage, Purism, E, and how they run, patch, maintain their devices. Like what level of Google grips do they have? What level? It's a real. If I can remember to find it, I'll be sure to pin it in somewhere on my channel so I can remember to find it, and maybe somewhere in Discord. When Graphene OS is finally compatible with the Pixel 10, hopefully people will make a video on it. And yeah, once it's compatible with the 10, I have a 10 in my possession. I'm going to test it on. Once I know that it's fully compatible. Because I have a 9 and it works fine. I just tell people, if you're waiting, just get the 9. They're going to support it. It's not going away. They've talked about how difficult it is become and how difficult it is, but this FUD going around because it's getting traction that they're going anywhere with Google. They're not. They just said the future one, like the 11, they don't know if they're going to be able to support the 11, and they said the same thing about the 10. They said the same thing about the 9. Like, this isn't new, but they're not putting. If Graphene OS was, if the developers at Graphene OS had a monumental amount of idea, which they're going to have more than just some retard on the street, that Google was going to just shut them completely out, they probably would start making that partnership with the OEM vendor much faster. But they're not. So I don't think the Pixels are going anywhere. I think it's gonna be fine. They did say, I think, that the price of the phones with the OEM manufacturer they're working with will be priced around the same. If that happens and they kill, first off, I got to know who their partnership with. I have some theories in my head. I have two theories in my head. My first one, and this is going to be out of pocket, and mark my words, I hope people can come back to this this video or this live stream and look at this part. I think the OEM, I could be wrong, I think the OEM manufacturer, in my opinion, from what I've gathered in my head, is going to be OnePlus. That's my first guess. I don't think it's going to be Samsung. And I don't think it's going to be Redmi. Maybe Redmi. Redmi would be another one. Yeah, I saw that. I think it's going to be OnePlus. That's my personal take. OnePlus has been super okay with the open source community. It would be, I mean, but that's my first guess. My second guess, I know this sounds crazy. Maybe Sony. Sony's not really big on the open source. That'd be kind of crazy, but I don't think that. Actually, no, I take that back. They kind of hate open source. That'd be sick, though. I think it's going to either be OnePlus, because they're huge. They're a massive company. They used to be like very in the custom ROM. Like, people would take the OnePluses and put custom. Graphene OS is not a custom ROM, but that was the purpose of it. A lot of people would fork and root their Android OnePlus. I knew a lot of people in IT that loved the OnePlus. Don't know why, but it was a loved device for some weird reason. I don't think it's going to be Samsung, though. The second option, if it's an OEM manufacturer, maybe this might be it. Okay, my two predictions, either OnePlus or Fairphone. And they've been critical of the Fairphone. They say I think they would have went with them if they made better security decisions. Because I think from a ethical standpoint, Fairphone is doing the right thing. I get where they're coming from. They want to make a device that lasts a long time and destroy like the idea of e-waste. And they do have the funding and the money, probably. It's either going to be OnePlus or Fairphone. Those are. I could be completely wrong, but those are my two predictions. They're not going to tell us.
And you're watching the Code Report. Maybe you've never heard of the Free Software Foundation, but virtually every human on planet Earth uses its software daily. From the GNU tools that power Linux and Android.
This is true.
To the GCC.
I need to get the
C compiler and the GPG encryption that secures.
GPG encryption, baby. Me when someone asks for me 2FA, this should be two-factor authentication. Who are you?
Here's your emails. The Free Software Foundation's work is quietly running underneath almost every device, server, and app that you touch. It was started 40 years ago by Richard Stallman, and yesterday they announced a new initiative called the librephone. They've tapped legendary hacker Rob Savoie to lead the charge, the guy behind OpenStreetMap and the guy who made Flash work on Linux before it was cool with Nash. The mission is to replace every closed source bit on your phone with open source freedom. But you might be saying, wait a minute, Android is already an open source Linux-based
So, I think what they're bringing up is the chipset's not open source, the Bluetooth not open source, the broadband isn't open source. I mean, this is This is where the Free Software Foundation gets like super esoteric.
Operating system. That's true, but only technically. In reality, most of the software that makes your phone actually work, from the modern firmware to the camera drivers and Google Play services, is all locked down proprietary code. The librephone wants to rip out all these blobs and replace them with fully free software, so your phone isn't just open source on paper, but free as in freedom in practice. But if you're already based, you might be using Lineage OS to bypass Google's spyware. Well, apparently, Lineage links significant proprietary code, and FSF board member John Gilmore said, quote, "Rather than accept the sad situation, I looked for collaborators to reverse engineer."
Yeah, so again, people think like de-Googling your... God, I wish I had that fucking list. It kind of shows, because the problem is the marketing. The marketing. People, I understand people are just using the word de-Google. They're using the word de-Google because they just want to get away from Google, but it's very difficult. It's not only very difficult to get away from Google because Google touches a lot of stuff. A lot of developers when they're developing something, they might not have a lot of money or time to build a complete backend system or this or this or that. So they'll use Firebase. Or they'll use something else for their push notifications that's used by Google. Or Google makes it kind of difficult. They're making it kind of difficult. Sure. I mean, it is deeper. It is deeper than that. But the thing is, if you're a developer and you don't have a lot of money or time or anything, I get it. Look at Adobe. There's good options out there. DaVinci Resolve's great. It could probably replace a lot of Adobe, but when you make it difficult to exit a system, when you make it difficult to learn, if you've been doing like video editing for like 15, 20 years, and you're like, man, I really don't like paying Adobe, you kind of think like, why am I still paying these retards? Because it's just about the... No, I'm like saying it's deeper than just de-Google. Yeah. I understand it's deeper on a philosophical level. Like, it's being against... Google is super anti-competitive. You could look at Apple being anti-competitive. Microsoft, as much as a shit company they are, they got so late in the game, it was very difficult for them to be able to get into the market. Whether anyone think the Windows Phone should have existed or not, I still think that it was good competition. I'm for the competition. I think the competition is the most important. I want the option. You don't have an option today. You have reskinned Android on a few different vendors, and then you have Apple. Your choice. And that's not a choice. Linux phones are not good, by the way. I have one. Is it usable if you just talk, text, and you're okay with not putting anything sensitive on it? Yes, it's great then. It's completely usable. I think the premise that people say that it's not usable is depending on what's usability to you. I used one for like a month. It did everything I needed. The only problem I had was getting the service to work consistently. Something with the baseband broad chip, like the chip for the antenna to connect to whatever carrier you're using, that was kind of spotty in some spaces, and it was off of 4G LTE. 4G is a little bit lackluster than 5G. 5G is a little bit better in terms of when it's actually properly implemented. It is slightly more secure and slightly does a better job than 4G. So there are some benefits. There's some positive and negative benefits to it. It kind of depends on what's your threat model, what you want, and in terms of speed, reliability, and like coverage. But other than that, they're kind of expensive too. They're an expensive niche product where you could be potentially using a device that's insecure, and you could be potentially doing more harm than good, even though that you're preferring the freer and more open source options out there. And then there's flip phone. There's Kai OS, I think is what it's called. It's like done on flip phones. Had to close the cat door. Nice. You should always allow the cats in. So, you have Kai. I think Kai OS is like the other one. It's like on flip phones primarily. It's not good. And most people don't use flip phones.
And replace those proprietary modules with fully free software before at
Based.
least one modern phone. It's a noble cause.
Wait, so do you think that even though this phone comes out using a Pixel phone with graphic notes, yeah, 100%. Pixel. So here's the thing: Pixel devices, their hardware is open source, like to a degree. I'm going to be careful with that word with the open source elitist. Pixels had the best modern security out the gate. It's just like, I'm not comparing security and privacy. They're separate things. Like, Windows in itself is more secure than Linux out the gate. Does that make Windows private? No. Does Linux have just as many security flaws and problems? Yeah. There's a lot of, but remember, forgetting that Linux isn't monolithic. Windows is monolithic. Every Windows, if I hand 5 different Windows, all patched, all normal Windows, 5 USB drives with Windows on it, and I hand it to 5 different people, they're all going to have the same experience. They're all going to be much more secure, much better, much more efficient, however you want to, not efficient, let me rephrase that, much more secure. Then if I hand 5 different USBs with Linux on it, you know, Arch versus Ubuntu versus Fedora versus OpenSUSE versus Debian, they all have their own non-homogeneous outlook on how they want to do security patching, updating. That's how Linux is. It's not a it doesn't, everything in Linux doesn't match each other. That's what makes Linux unique. It is completely a user experience issue, like a user experience outlook is how I look at it. Like, I like Void Linux. I've used Arch before. I've used Ubuntu before. I hated Ubuntu. I used Pop! OS. I think Pop! OS is dog shit. Quite literally. I don't like Pop! OS. I had 2 really, really bad experiences in it. Now, does that mean that somebody should just abandon Pop! OS and go off on it and be like, no, fuck them? No. I think you should be able to install whatever you want. It's your hardware. You own it at the end of the day. I mean, you could go down to, like, your driver. Are your drivers open source? No? Okay, then how do you know that your drivers aren't stealing information with your graphics card? How do you know your graphics card's not stealing your information? I mean, again, a lot of the Linux, beyond Linux, a lot of the stuff is very esoteric. Yeah, I hate Mint. I thought Mint sucked, but a lot of people love Mint and use it. I don't even like Fedora, and I think Fedora is better. Fedora is probably like one of the most proactively secure Linux distros you could get. Secure Blue would be one of them, or any Atomic Fedora or Silverblue or OpenSUSE. OpenSUSE is even better because they're rolling release. Same thing with Arch. Arch is better because it's rolling release. People like to compare Linux to Linux servers when those are like kind of like stupid comparisons. Linux servers are they only do one thing, and you can quote unquote lock down and restrict a lot. Yeah, I'm definitely using a modern laptop currently, but I also have a T8. Oh, nice beat. And no offense to librephone. I like librephone. Core boot's better. Core boot's more maintained and more widely available, and I think higher maintenance and wide availability is a security plus generally. When you have something very small and esoteric, and the only thing that makes Core boot different is just slight proprietary blobs in it. That's all it is. But like it's all about what you want to put on your hardware, which I think people should have the right to. And I think that it should be a choice. We don't really have a lot of choice in society.
But reverse engineering all the firm.
We don't have really a lot of choice in society when it comes to our software and our devices. And I agree with that. When you buy a modern laptop today, it comes with Windows. When you go to school, it's Windows or Mac, Windows or Mac, Windows or Mac. And do I think that they are good for the average user that don't understand good security practice, good security hygiene, good password hygiene, good computer hygiene? No one should just be like, here, have an operating system that gives you full root privileges when you do stuff, full root access. Come on, it'd be ludicrous, but that's okay. I mean, people make mistakes with good secured operating systems now. Can't imagine if it was worse, if it gave more freedom.
Firmware and binary blobs on a smartphone is a massive undertaking. This was already tried once before with Replicant, an early FSF-backed attempt to create a fully free Android fork. It did work technically, but adoption was almost non-existent.
This is why, so the Nexuses were kind of like the Google, this was Nexus, and then Google Pixels came afterwards. So Google, I think, maintained this. This is why, for the longest time, Pixels have been super loved. Because you can put whatever you want on them. And they allow relocking the bootloader.
Existent. Only a handful of devices were supported, and most users just...
Oh, wait, no. The Nexus was Samsung's. It was Samsung's. No, wait. Nexus was Google. Am I crack? Am I smoking crack? It was Google Nexus. Okay, I'm crack. I was smoking, so I was right. Yeah, because then they turned it into the Pixel. I don't know why the fuck they changed their name, but whatever.
Just aren't willing to give up basic features like Wi-Fi, cameras, GPS, etc. to run free software.
Hell
and
yeah.
Even if the librephone somehow pulls it off,
Just download your maps and print them out, brother.
the Apple-Google duopoly is practically unbreakable. These two companies control the hardware, the operating system, the app stores, the payment rails, and have massive lobbying efforts in government at a time when governments are rolling out digital ID systems, contact tracing, and app-based verification platforms that are tightly integrated into these ecosystems.
I mean, the thumbprint doesn't really fucking matter. That's like all localized, so.
The mobile ecosystem feels hopelessly locked down, but the librephone might be the only thing that can liberate us from this dystopian crony surveillance state, while preserving all of the features.
While using SMS that's insecure and unencrypted and far worse than having the ability to have access to signal.
That we need to maintain massive amounts of screen time.
You don't know if the broadband, the baseband, and the Wi-Fi chip are all sandboxed. So with Graphene OS, they show it like they can. There's actually a really good technical article on this on Graphene OS and Pixels. Everything is sandbox, so it doesn't even matter. Like your broadband is sandbox. All of them are sandbox for a reason, to prevent memory leaks and prevent from information being leaked into the wrong space, essentially, from what I understand.
Time daily.
But I am
that
retarded,
means there's
so.
going to be a lot of code reviews, and that's why you need to know about CodeRabbit, the spawn trap is, and Machine, and I will...
Well, cool. That's kind of based. So we can just read this, too, from Boston, Massachusetts. The Free Software Foundation today announced its project to bring mobile phone freedom, librephone, in an innovative to reverse engineer obstacles preventing mobile phones' freedom until its goal is achieved. If I could pay for it, if I could pay for the space, like Wi-Fi is free right now. Like Wi-Fi is a free space that the FCC gives out. This is why anyone can use Wi-Fi. There's no license to use Wi-Fi. I wish the government would just cut out like small chunks for only non-businesses, like they do with like GMSR and like shit like that. Just make me pay like $50 a year or a month or a year or whatever. $50 a year, I could run my own mobile baseband network, like private 5G, private 4G. Just give me some tower space, give me some bandwidth to work with. I can create the tower, like I can buy the tower, I can buy the equipment, set it up. That'd be kind of sick. You can't. That'd be sick though. And then I would run it on the librephone, and I would only use free software, open 5G, open free software. That'd be kind of sick. To be able to run completely open source 5G network with my open source phone. Okay, so librephone is a new innovative by the Free Software Foundation with the goal of bringing full freedom to the mobile computing environment. The vast majority of software users around the world use mobile phones as their primary computing device. That's kind of true. After 40 years of advocacy for computing freedom, the FSF will now work to bring right to steady, change, and share and modify the programmers use depending on their daily lives to mobile phones. 40 years ago, when the Free Software Foundation was founded, our focus was on providing operating system for people who could use it on a desktop or server computers and freedom. Okay, guys, I think I know what this is. Richard Stallman wants to be able to use Tinder in a Free Software Foundation way, or feetfinder.com. I'm guaranteeing it. Richard Stallman, mark my words, Richard Stallman wants to use feetfinder.com or Tinder in a FOSS way, and he's trying. This is his workaround. I guarantee it. he needs feetfinder.com to be free and open source browser. Times have changed, technology has progressed, but our commitment to freedom hasn't, said Zoe Kuman, executive director of the Free Software Foundation. A lot of work has been done in the mobile phone freedom over the last years that we'll be building on. The Free Software Foundation is now ready to do that as what's necessary to bring freedom to cell phone users. Given the complexity of the devices, this work will take time, but we're used to playing the long game. Thunder Them. Yeah. Practically, librephone aims to be the closest to close the gap between existing distributions of Android operating system and software freedom. The Free Software Foundation has hired experienced developer Rob Sayer, Deja Gnu, and Ganesh, and OpenStreetMaps, and more, and to lead the technical project. He's currently investigating a state of device firmware and binary blobs and other mobile phone freedom projects, prioritizing the free software work done by the non-entirely free software mobile operating system, Lineage OS. Yeah, guys, remember, Lineage OS, not completely open source, not free. Think about that. Put that in your thinking cap. If you're using Lineage OS, you're a proprietary bitch. Just saying. The initial work is funded by donations from the Free Software Foundation board member John Gilmore, who explained, "I've enjoyed using a mobile phone running Lineage OS with MicroG and F-Droid for years, which eliminates the spyware and control of Google embeds in standard Android phones." That's not entirely true. MicroG still relies on Google. There's proof of this, by the way. DiveLS, RIP, honestly, an amazing developer. We really lost a true legend in the free and open source space. Has proved that MicroG uses Google somewhere. So it's not entirely true. I wonder if I can find it. Totally YouTube not censoring the first half of Thunderstruck repeated twice made by the first half of AC. Wait, did I play that by accident? I don't know if... Oh, yeah, his website's down, so... if I had that chart, man. You've been thunderstruck. While MicroG provides replica APIs for services like Google Play, Google Maps, geolocation, and messaging, it does not track users. However, users can choose to enable... Why can't I say Thunder by ACAC? All cops are cats? I can't... man. All I know is that there is proprietary APIs that I believe MicroG. I'm gonna have to find it. I'm gonna find the where I read this. It's very interesting, and I'll put it in the Discord. Rules section, not rules, but like a section where people can go look at this themselves. It's kind of interesting because it is a misleading thing that MicroG is Google free. It's not. It's quite funny. And after it for years, which eliminates the spyware and control of Google embedded in standard Android phones. You could, by the way, just throwing this out here, you can buy a phone that has Android on it and not install the Google Play App Store. None of it. You don't need it. It's not required. This is why Graphene OS works without it. What a channel name. Thanks, appreciate it. There's a reason behind it, but I'll save that for 100,000 subscribers. No, I'll be realistic. 10,000 subscribers. I'll tell everyone why I called it this. There's a very specific, funny reason, but I can only reveal. And I will face reveal at 69,000 subscribers. Yeah, 69,000 subscribers. My face will be ready to be shown. I'll be 500 years old if I don't get banned for saying funny words. Okay. And then again, if you say you get an Android phone and you download Facebook, you got the spyware regardless. Google embeds I wouldn't say Google embeds it. You don't need a Google account to do it. I later discovered that Lineage OS distribution links in significant proprietary binary modules copied from the firmware, particularly phones. Rather than accept this situation, I looked for collaborations to reverse engineer and replace those proprietary modules with fully forged software for at least one modern phone. Trying and existing packages and device compatibility to find a phone with the fewest, most flexible freedom problems in the first step. From there, the Free Software Foundation and Savan aim to reverse engineer and replace the remaining non-free librephone non-free software. Librephone will serve as existing developers and project who aims to build a fully functioning and free, as in freedom, Android compatible OS. The Free Software Foundation has been supporting earlier free software mobile products such as Replicant, and excited to launch this in the new effort. We are lucky to find Rob Silver, a great engineer with decades of experience in the free software, embedded systems, and project management. When asked to comment on this project, as a longtime embedded systems engineer who has worked on mobile devices for decades, I'm looking forward to this opportunity. He added, making a fully free software for a modern commercial phone would not be quick, easy, or cheap, but our project benefits from standing on the shoulders of giants who have done most of the work. Please join us with your efforts and your donations. Thank you, Free Software Foundation. Appreciate you going out and doing this. I will look at that in the future. It does seem kind of cool, but until Linux actually steps up its security game, it's going to be kind of hard to really like dive deep into that. And the thing is, like, I think Linux has the ability to get there. I don't think it's completely retarded, and it's not going to ever happen. I'm not saying like Linux phones will never be secure and but the thing is, like, Linux values one thing and one thing only, especially with the Free Software Foundation. They value freedom. Like, they value choice, which I think you could take. That's like at least they're holding to their principles, respect. but they're also kind of blind to it. I mean, a lot of people when they first jump into the Linux space, they get told, oh, it's secure, and oh, it doesn't need a virus scanner, and no, like, another thing too is like people act like there's no shitty like they don't think there's shitty corporate like Linux telemetry collecting incels in like this industry. There definitely is. I think somebody brought up that Mozilla and Firefox updated their new privacy policy, and apparently it's not good. And they said people that use Firefox should go read it. Like I mean, look at Canonical. Canonical's kind of like a giant shithole of a company. They're like or Rust, if people remember the Rust drama, where Rust was like bitching about trademark shit. This is why I always say that GPL licensing is not good. GPL licensing is just freedom with restriction. If you want a truly free, no bullshit license, MIT license, and then do whatever the fuck you want license. Yeah, we're gonna do this one first. Oh yeah. RIP, baby. All right, beautiful guys. I will see you in the next video.